Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. I am not ridiculously early today, but I am on time. Well, I am slightly early, but yes, not ridiculously so. Just had an email to say that I've gone live. It's good to know. Gin and Pin says, ready and waiting with the whole day to myself. Might have to cuddle cats if they ask. I'm going to be sewing. Oh, lovely. Tricia says, good morning, Peeps, from a very sunny Liverpool. Good morning. It's also very sunny here on the Isle of Wight, and the giant wood pigeon is back. Somebody sent me a message saying, oh, I think it's a wood pigeon. Yes, they're definitely wood pigeons, which are bigger than regular feral pigeons that you find in London. But it's back, and it's staring at me again. Bethany says, morning. It's also gloriously sunny here in Bristol. Spent the morning rocking out at the studio. Lovely. Very nice. Trisha says, there's no might about it to Gin and Pins. They cuddles, you cuddles, lol. I almost brought Gianna down with me, actually, but she was tucked up in the center. She's kind of made herself a nest between the two pillows in my bed. So I was like, oh, I can't disturb her. Caroline says, morning. If it's chilly but gloriously sunny, just got 5 meters of needle cord washed and dried. Feels so good. Feels so good not to tumble. Ooh, nice. And Elena says, good afternoon, Sean and Peeps. Hello, welcome. So I am going to be sewing the Magnolia dresses today, and I've gotten to the point where I have the lining and the outer pinned together around the neck edge on both dresses. So we need to get that sewn. Actual sewing happening within the first 5 minutes of a hangout. What is going on? And why is the ankle weird today? But never mind, we're going to persevere. So yeah, I'm on day 4 of this project, filming wise. Probably actually 5 days, because I also traced and cut out the muslin for the Magnolia. But we are going, hopefully, to get dresses done today. That is the plan. That is the plan. Laura says, good morning from Ohio. Very good morning. A positive thread says, would love to catch up, but just landed in Cancun on the way to Tulum for a holiday. I'll catch up next weekend. Have a great week. Oh, have an amazing time. I loved Cancun. I went when I was 19, so quite a while ago. But yes, it was amazing. Dizzy Quilts and Sew says, morning from Montreal. We'll be working on the Harrison shirt this morning. Very nice. Claire C says, good morning, Shine and Peeps, from a beautiful sunny Cheshire. Good morning. I think it is just. Oh no, it's now midday. Hello. So yes, actual sewing within minutes of starting the stream, but I'm really excited about these dresses. I've got both the skirts over there. The ties are done. The sleeves are done, so I just need to get the bodices together so that it can all come together. It was really interesting, actually, with the comments on the last video, about bias binding and things. And Nancy, in particular, said if she didn't get all the fiddly kind of annoying bits done first, then a project can end up sitting there for a lot longer than maybe she intended. And I'm definitely the same. That's why I've started getting my sleeves sewn up first, because yeah, definitely prefer that kind of I definitely prefer getting all the kind of fiddly bits done so that I can get onto the bodice. The bodice is always my favorite thing, because you can take these flat pieces of fabric and sew in a few different kind of lines of stitching and end up with this 3D thing that will fit around your curves and look amazing. So yeah. Always enjoyed this part. Let's see. Mim73 says, hello from Frankfurt. Hope you are all well. Very well, thank you. How are you? James says, good morning from Bristol. Good morning. Trisha says, this is a record, sewing in the first few minutes, lol. Actually, it's not, but it's because I got down here really early. I was down here from about 10 o'clock. I've watched 2 episodes of Scorpion, finished NCIS, desperately looking for, this was something that was recommended to me, and I like that it's based on a slightly true story. Obviously they've kind of like massively dramatized some of it, but yeah. And so much so that I actually took an IQ test last night because I was like, oh, I wonder what my IQ was. I mean, I appreciate that like it was an arbitrary test, but apparently 125, so slightly above average. I was quite pleased with that. It was a kind of a sort of like a what's missing from these images kind of thing. So I think it might have been kind of something that I was particularly well suited for as well. It definitely wasn't any maths or like, you know, but I suppose different IQ, different, like Albert Einstein said, like everybody's intelligence, but if you everybody's intelligent, but if you, or yes, everybody's intelligent, but if you try and measure a fish's intelligence by asking it to climb a tree, it's going to fail. I know that's not the exact quote, but it was something along those lines, wasn't it? So yeah. But I'm very much enjoying Scorpion. There's only 4 seasons of it, which is sad, but I am enjoying it. Anessa says, good morning, Sean and everyone. Claire says, I have my first 8577 cut out and ready to sew. I've been studying your fab sew along and I'm looking forward to making a start on it today. Ooh, nice. What fabric have you picked? Making it is very time consuming, but it's a fairly easy to dress. The only slightly tricky part is the pocket detail, and that's only because it's convex to convex and concave. Yes, so you have to sew one type of curve to the other, but totally doable, and the pockets are totally worth it. They are awesome pockets. Awesome pockets. Okay. Let's see. Jinapin says to Caroline, I think needle cord must be really popular at the moment. One of the dresses I'm working on is in it, and I've got another 3 in the queue. I've seen more of it on the high street as well. Yeah, I like needle cord. I've got an amazing Lady McElroy one that I got in the remnant sale, which is just up here. You can't quite see it. But I actually want to make something like the 8577. Although I actually think it's going to be probably end up being more like the 9345, but without the collar. And I'm going to make it into like a button-up front dress, pinafore dress kind of, to be worn over things. I think that's going to look really nice. Just making sure all my seam allowances are behaving themselves. And that pin's escaping as well. Now, where did that pin go? There it is. So I did stay stitch these necklines, which I'm very glad that I did, because they are already just a little bit kind of like squiffy. Mum's just come back from church and she is now out walking the dog. I don't know if she's going to be coming down here later. She had a friend over the other day who she's met in the Women's Institute. She's joined all these clubs, and she was teaching her some quilting basics. Just as I turned this room around, just for like cutting out configuration. So yeah, they had to they couldn't do it down here, unfortunately. So Mum took everything up to the main house and she taught her up there, which was very fun. Nearly done with this first neckline. Once I've sewn all these in, I can clip my curves, understitch, and press. Oops. concentration face of that last little bit. Make sure everything is lining up. There we go. So that's one done. Let's do the other one. So I said how much I hate batch sewing when I did the navy dress project, but I am batch sewing again because I have 2 of these Magnolia dresses to do. I am doing a shorter version with the flutter sleeves and this full circle skirt for kind of like more everyday wearing. And then I'm going to do a maxi version with the full bishop sleeves and split up the skirt to look like the inspiration picture. So I'm very excited. Okay, so that's one done. Let's do the other one. Where did I get to with the chat? Let's catch up from the chat because I'm a little bit behind. Natalie says, good morning from foggy Toronto. Good morning. Kinsey says, good morning from Southeast Iowa. Good morning. Karen's here. Hello, peeps. Hi, Karen. How are you? Christine says, hi, everyone. Hello, welcome. Linda says, hello from Long Island, New York. Hello, welcome. Caroline says to Gin and Pins, I know I ordered black from Pound Meter. They rang me and asked what I would prefer, black in 8 wale or stone in needle cord. As it's for the office, I went with the stone. Nice. Caroline said Einstein had an IQ of 165. He did indeed. Apparently this guy, Walter O'Brien from the thing that I'm watching, Scorpion, has an IQ of 197, the 4th highest recorded, although having had a look at it, there's quite a few people that are higher than that. Although apparently it's difficult to quantify an IQ over 200. I don't know how that is, but yeah. I'm really enjoying it. I mean, it's obviously completely like over the top, like Hollywood drama, but I love that it's based on the life of of an actual person who exists. So I thought that was interesting. Moran says, hi everyone from Israel. I'm sewing the daisy dress in yellow gingham fabric for a Sew Yellow for Endo Instagram challenge. Oh, that's awesome. Teresa says, just tuned in. Happy Sunday. Love all your videos. Oh, thank you, Teresa, and welcome. Karen says to Eva, hello, neighbour. Bit exaggerated. I'm in Munich. Oh, have I missed something? Oh, Evie says, good morning, or just popping in to say good morning before starting work. Hello, Evie. Oh, Eva, yes. Hello from Vienna. Hi, welcome. We are global today. Marissa says, good evening from Brisbane. I'm sewing a joy vest from Starlet Arc in vintage needle cord. Nice, the needle cord is getting some love today. Eva says, hi to Karen. I grew up close to the German border. Oh, very cool. Vienna is Austria, isn't it? I'm not pinned in. Gillian Pin says, I'm making another Roscoe dress in needle cord. I'm finding it a really good pattern for lots of different weights of fabric. It might be my tongue-in-cheek make 9 this year. Oh, lovely. I like that idea. 9 versions of, I might do that next year, actually. You'll have to remind me. That's such a good idea. Johanna says, good morning from North Carolina, USA. Yeah, no, that is a good, sorry, good morning, Johanna. But that is a good idea because it would, patterns are expensive and it would showcase the different variations that you can make with a pattern, even like, hacking things. Gin and Pin, such a good plan. Yes. Joanna says, good afternoon from Finland, measuring and sorting out my woven fabric boxes today. Oh, so much fun. I had so much fun with you guys last week. Elena says, Scorpion was very cute. Yeah. I liked that. I thought I'm enjoying it. I'm only 6 episodes into the first series. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. Teresa says hello from US in Wisconsin. Hello, good morning. Karen says to Eva, then you are an even closer neighbor as Vienna is bright and sunny as Munich today. Trisha says, don't forget to hit like if you haven't already. Yeah, there's 99 of us already. Hello, welcome everybody. So let's get this second bodice sewn. Yeah, I'll definitely take recommendations of other TV programs you guys think I like. I went through Criminal Minds yesterday as well. I didn't realize I was finishing it because it was only like 15 episodes long, or was it even 10 for the season? But I've always enjoyed that one as well. That was season 15. I am not up to date with Grey's Anatomy, but I am waiting until it's free to watch, because at the moment you have to pay to watch, and I don't want to do that. I haven't started The Gilded Age yet, because again, I am waiting for that one to be all available, all the episodes available. But I'm looking forward to watching that one. Cannot wait till Bridgerton starts on the 25th. I've rewatched the first season. I've seen it 3 times now. What else? I am watching Picard and Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and also Snowpiercer. Loved that. Thinking I might try some of the other NCISs, because they branched off and did a whole bunch of different ones, didn't they? In different parts of the world. Sorry, parts of America, sorry. Yes, I'm thinking I might try that one. I've watched and rewatched Bones twice all the way through, and absolutely loved that one. What else have I seen? Obviously Supernatural, but that's just the most recent. And apart from seasons 14 and 15, I've now watched it through 3 times. What else? What else? I absolutely love Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel, and have watched those through quite frequently. Walking Dead, I got quite far through that and then stopped, and I don't know if I want to continue with it or not, because it is a bit, I don't know, maybe. Watched The Adam Project the other day. That was awesome. Very much enjoyed that. I've just been kind of like binge watching movies and stuff in between all the editing and sewing, although I have obviously been listening to audiobooks as well. I'm on book 3 of the Winnowing Fire trilogy, which is an awesome sci-fi, fantasy, I suppose, if you like those kinds of things. If you like Robin Hobb, you'll probably like this. And that's how I found it. That was the recommendation that was sold me on it, because it was just like, ooh, I love Robin Hobb, so yeah, give me a bit of that. What did I get to? Caroline says, I'm thinking of trying the by hand London Tamsin in the cord. Isn't that the one with the pin tucks in it? That would look really pretty. Eva says, we're having a great weather, but I am in bed because of endo pain. Oh, you poor thing. I'm glad we can keep you company and hopefully a little bit distracted. Carmen says, good morning, Peeps. Good morning. MF is here. Megan, good morning, Sean and Peeps. Good morning. Elena says, Sean, did you end up correcting that maxi skirt? I got the impression that you finished that Magnolia. No, this is the first Magnolias I've made. The only bit I've made previously was a muslin. Words are hard. And the circle skirt back there, I'm not gonna fuss with the seams on that. I'm just gonna have a center front seam, because I really don't want to lose any of the space at the waist, because I really don't want to have to kind of like, so I'm not going to correct the seam placement on that one. I think it's going to look fine. I mean, if it truly looks awful, then I'll think about changing it, but I don't think it's going to. Magnolia. Johanna says, I just started rewatching The X-Files. That freaks me out. I can't watch that. That really freaks me out. Mim says, I'm listening to the third book of The Witcher and I like it a lot. Yeah, I didn't really like the narrator. I downloaded the Witcher books and I just really didn't like the narrator. And that's such a big part of audiobooks for me. And I don't read anymore because I find it really straining on my eyes. Oh, yeah. Caroline says to Trisha, I really enjoyed the Magpie Murders. Ooh, was that, am I missing out chat? Yeah, I'm trying to keep up with it all. Janet says, good afternoon, Sean and Peeps. Hello, Janet. Karen says to Eva, very sorry to hear that. I am certain that Sean is able to take your mind off the pain, at least for a little while. Hopefully we can all do that. Yes. Yvonne says, morning, everyone. Hope you're all well. Very well, thank you, Yvonne. How are you? Tricia says, so did I, Caroline. Finished it last night. Cool. Right. I haven't seen... Oh, Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries. I still haven't seen The Crypt of Tears, so I need to try and find that. I think that's on Acorn TV, isn't it? Really having to be careful with this neckline because I'm having to ease it in, making sure that I'm not getting any tucks or puckers. Okay. I'll have to hold the skirt up for you guys in a second and see what you think about the centre front seam, if you can notice it, because I don't think it's too bad, but now is the time to change it if I need to. Okay, so I've just had another email from Brewdog. It's like I'm their target audience or something. Okay, let's clip the curves on this one. We can do some understitching. And we'll have a look at the seams on the skirt and see what you guys think, whether I really ought to stop. Well, it's not even laziness. Like, if it was really bad, I'd change it. But like I said, I was just really worried about losing the seam allowance, and I actually don't have enough fabric to recut that panel. And then I need to hem my Cobra Corsage skirt as well. What do you think? Actually, it's going to be that way. And then this is I don't think it's that bad. I think this print is busy enough that I get away with it. I'll have to see what you guys say in the comments in a second. I'll just hang it back up. It's bias is definitely doing biasy things, that is for sure. Let's see, where did I get to? Eva says, thank you. Hanging out with Shine and the Peeps is definitely the best medicine. Oh, awesome. Mim says, the German narrator is good. Don't know about the English one, but admit narrator is important. Yeah. Yeah, Anessa says to Elena, the tiered gathered skirt was for a different pattern. And Christine says, morning everyone from sunny Lancashire coast. I am making 2 shoulder dragons for my grandsons. Wish me luck. Oh, very nice. Michelle says, because typing is hard. Happy Sunday from sunny Bermuda. I am loving the live hangout. Welcome. Nice to see you. Elena says, Miss Fisher is cool. You should check the spin-off Miss Fisher's Modern Mysteries, if I remember the name correctly. Ooh, yes. Yes. Good plan. Laura says, the print is so busy that you can't tell. Mim says, you really can't see the seam. Nicola says, it's fine. Nessa says, I can't see the seam. Caroline says, barely noticeable. They can see it, they are too close. Yeah. Natalie says, I couldn't even see the seam. Trisha says, that is good as well. Elena enjoyed it. Lynn says, I think the skirt looks grand. And hello from a very sunny Belfast. Hello, Lynn. Michelle says, I think it looks good. I'm loving the leaf fabric. I know. And apparently it's still available from Spotlight. I know Alison has got 5 meters for mum and dad because dad loves it and mum loves it. So dad's going to have a shirt. Mum, that should give mum sort of 2 meters left. So not sure what she's going to do with that, but probably a shirt as well. And then we'll have to Von Trapp it up together and wear them, all of our stuff together. Gin and Pin says, I think the fabric is busy enough and the skirt so voluminous that it's not noticeable. Yeah, if it was like a super obvious thing, I would change it, but I just think I can get away with it and I don't need to. I don't want to do all that unpicking, but I'm also worried about losing half an inch off of the waistline. Johanna says, skirt looks good, going to be a pretty dress. I think so. Elena says, you're right, was watching that video at 2 a.m. And Trisha says, just had a notification to say you're live. Lol. Ah, good to know. Good to know. I love it when it emails me and tells me that I'm live as well. It's like, okay, it's good to know. And Megan says, I would not have noticed the seam. This is good, you guys. Yeah, it's kind of what I'm thinking as well. Right, so let us do some understitching. My voice is particularly croaky today. For no particular reason, I am totally fine. Just my voice is a little bit fluffed. But never mind. Never mind. Right, understitching. And I do my understitching before I press, because personally I find that it helps with the pressing. So as I say, it is literally just personal preference. But I definitely clip the curves first and then put in the understitching. So when you get to the curvy area, you want to make sure that all of the seam allowance is behaving itself and staying where it should, which you can do by feel. And one thing that I think this is something that lots of people either kind of like are told or realize, that when you're sewing, you don't want to look at the needle. The needle's always going to do the same thing wherever you've put it. What you want to look at is the guide on your presser foot, or the thing that you've kind of like chosen as your sort of like registration point. So for me at the moment, I've got my needle moved over 2 ticks to the right. So it's about 2/16, just under 1/8 of an inch away from the actual stitching line, and I'm running the center of my presser foot, which has a mark on it, along the actual ditch of the seam. And it's that mark on the presser foot that I'm watching to make sure that that is staying where I need it to, because the needle is always going to do the same thing. just getting to the curvy bits again. So just going to make sure that all my seam allowance is where I want it. I'm gently pulling on the fabric as well to make sure it's all lying as flat as possible, because again, I haven't pressed this ahead of time because I find that this works better for me. You definitely could press it over to the side that you want the seam allowance to stay on, but I wouldn't press it flat until I'd done the understitching, because I find the understitching helps to then press it into the correct place. Whereas if you press it flat and then understitch, you can have pressed in a crease where you don't quite want it. I hope all that makes sense. It does to me. There's one done, and then we shall do the other one. Just trim off the loose threads. Don't want those. Oh, keep automatically putting the thread down into where the thread bin should be, but I have filled it up so much that I've taped it up. I'm going to take it and I put it away because I can literally stuff no more in that one. So I need a new thread bag, but we don't have any of those ones available. Like the sort of, I use the 10p plastic bags from the supermarket, the reusable ones, because they're sturdy and can take a lot of fabric. So yeah. Right, where did I get to with the chat? Megan says the dress will be beautiful. Thank you. Trisha says love the colours in the fabric. They're so pretty, aren't they? I've put the remainder that I've got left in the leaf print collection, and I'm seriously considering throwing a curveball in and working on that one next. Yeah, I can definitely see myself doing that. Anessa says, yesterday I helped my sister cut out a circle skirt and I'm supposed to help sew it today. Was trying to explain to her why she should just use bias binding on the hem instead of just hemming. She's not listening, but she will learn. I love my ass off. Oh gosh. I mean, it's just so difficult to turn a circular hem neatly unless you're doing it with a minute, narrow rolled hem, like I'd done with the sleeves here. Like I've done a super narrow rolled hem with this and that's worked. But yeah, just turning a hem again, very much not fun. Bias binding all the way for circle skirts. 100%. Cecilia says, hello Peeps and Sean. Hello, welcome. Kathy says, good morning. Good morning. Lala Palooza says, good morning from Kincardine, Ontario, Canada. Thanks so much for the tips on French seaming chiffon last week. My blouse turned out perfect with your advice. Oh, yay! Did you do the narrow ones or did you go for the regular French seams? Are you on the Peeps group? Can you share? We would love to see. Gin and Pin says, I've got a cat on my lap, so can't move for a while. What is the name of the foot to help with top stitching? Brother shop only had edge joining foot. Yeah, edge stitching foot. Although to be fair, I do use my blind hem foot, which is why you see me sew with the fabric under the presser foot so often, because you can't actually put the needle technically either side of the blade, but it's that little blade down the center, that bit there, that you run next to the thing, and then I can only, because it's a blind hem foot, I can only move the needle, technically only move the needle to the left. The edge stitch foot, you can put the needle either side of it, at least with the bananas. I mean, I know this isn't helpful, but if it was a banana, then the edge stitch foot is number 10. But yeah, I've been getting away with using my blind hem foot because it has that little blade in the middle of it that you can, and it's not like a blade, it's just like a guide that you can run against whatever you need to edge stitch. So again, coming up to my corners, so I want to make sure that all the seam allowance that I've clipped is lying the correct way. Let's see. Where did I get to? Megan says, the needle tip is good, thank you. I get so nervous running the machine, it's still learning. I said, this is the thing, like, there's so many little things that I do that I don't even realize that I do, kind of thing. So, like, actually thinking about it, one of the first, because I did a correspondence course. Well, I say I paid for a correspondence course. Gosh, when I was 24, 25. And one of the first things that they would have you do is sew on lined paper, keeping, making sure that the sewing was straight with the lines on the lined paper, which sounds really simple. And I actually never did it because that was the first thing that they were like, this is what you should do. And I was like, God, what have I wasted my money on? But thinking about it, it's actually quite a good exercise because you do need to be able to maintain a seam allowance from whichever way you're sewing, and it's a really good kind of way of getting your eye to follow the presser foot rather than the needle, because the needle is just going to do the same thing over and over again. This is a machine. It's not going to freak out on you and do something different. It's going to just go up and down, up and down, up and down wherever you've told it to. What you need to do is guide the stuff under there in a straight line or round curves or whatever, maintaining the seam allowance that you've chosen. So yeah, that's that was the first thing that this course. I like I say, I didn't complete the course. It was £120, I think, which is, I don't know why. I was just so annoyed with them for like, you want me to sew straight lines on paper? No, but it probably would have been a really good exercise. So yeah. Jen Pin says, we all know you don't like leaf prints. Now I know. Maybe I ought to get them out of my stash and done with. Elena says, off topic, out of topic, just realised where from Christine Kane. He was Lindsay and Angel. Yes, no, I looked last time. I did look, and I was like, that is where I know him from. He's the one that got his hand chopped off. Yes. I'm so glad you reminded me because I did look afterwards. I was like, I know him from somewhere. Debbie says, one day I will finally master my narrow hem foot. Not today though. I've tried it once and I hated it. I'd much rather do it by hand. So I do. It takes longer, but it's not as frustrating. And yeah, I do not have the patience to practice. That is my problem, as we have just established. Sewing straight lines on ruled paper, I was just like, no. And really probably ought to practice those kinds of things. I mean, given how expensive these feet are as well, like this is a teeny tiny narrow rolled hem for 35 quid. Such a waste of money. Never mind. Michelle says, random question, Sean, do you have a tutorial for French seams? I'm a basic sewer and trying to improve my skills. Yes, I do. There is a whole playlist of mini tutorials And if you go into playlists and you go through and you find the mini tutorial section, it takes you through everything from basic French seam, hemming a circle skirt with bias binding. That's, you know, a French seaming shoulder seams with a facing. That's where I put all those kind of like little sort of snippets of information. It goes through to the continuous lappers in there, sewing a shirt, a notched, sewing a collar with a collar stand. French seaming princess seams, French seaming a sleeve, all those kinds of things are in there. So yes, the mini tutorials is like a good way to go and look for those kinds of things. Lala Palooza says, narrow all the way. It was a bear to work with and tried my patience, but with many breaks and easy pattern, I got it done. Lol. Nice. Sal says, good day, Shine and Peeps. Hi, Sal. Welcome. Good evening. Jim Pin says, brother might not do one. I was just so excited being in the sewing machine shop. I don't know if a 1/4 inch foot might work. Yeah, I think I like, for me, when I do visible top stitching, I always kind of pick a place. The toe of my machine is, if the needle is center, the edge of my foot is 3/8 of an inch away from the seam. So I really like how that looks. So I use that as a top stitching thing. But again, I can move my needle all the way left, all the way right. So I can keep as long as I remember which position that I have used or chosen, then I can keep the edge of my presser foot against the seam and then, you know, move the needle wherever I want it. So yeah, there's definitely, you don't need specialist equipment to do these things. It's nice to have. Like I say, I've been making do with my blind 10 foot. Asley's here. Hi, Sean and Peeps. Hello, welcome. Deanna loves sewing, says morning, Sean from Ohio. Good morning, Deanna. Rachel's here. Hello. Hello, Rachel. How are you? I'm looking forward to your sew along next week, although I do have to take together a PDF, which might not happen because I have got a lot of other projects to get through, but I will totally be joining in with the Hangout or this live sew along, even if I don't end up making the blouse. But I do like the blouse and I have downloaded the pattern. Rachel Lynn says, good morning all. Good morning. Christine says, hi everyone. Hello, welcome. Elena says, and he really sang in that LA song in the series. It's his song. Yeah, apparently Jensen sings in that one as well. They have really good voices. Okay. Last little bit. Okie dokie. So both necklines have been understitched. Now I need to go and press them. So I'm going to go turn the iron on, and then I'll come back and catch up with the chat. I used a lot of my pre-made bias binding on the maxi skirt because I needed to bind the 2 edges of the seam where the front slit was going to be, and then also the 2 edges of the seam where the zip was going to go in. So I used, I think, about 5 meters in that. I think I've only got 2 meters left, which is definitely not going to be enough to hem the summer skirt. So I'm going to need to make some more because I think I would like to do it in a hem and circle skirt with the same fabric. I have no idea why my voice is so croaky. It's very annoying. Let's see. Ashley says, I saw that I was sewing felled seams in my dreams last night. This might be a sign to learn them. Yeah, definitely. Megan says, we'll do that, thanks. After the hangout, of course. I spilled tea running for the computer yelling, I'll get it later, it's starting. Oh no. I hope you didn't spill tea on yourself. That's not good. Johanna says, Christine Kane is also in Leverage, a very fun caper show. Ooh, I'll have to check that out as well. Thank you. Jennifer is here. Good morning, peeps. What are you making, Mishan? Lols, just woke up and lounging in bed. Nice. I am sewing the Magnolia dresses today. Gin Pin says, I have 2 dress patterns with every seam top stitch, so I was hoping to make it easier on myself. Wobbly top stitching would be so noticeable. Yes, yes. No, I think the thing, if you can move the machine needle, like find your foot. Like I say, from the center of the foot to the edge here is 3/8 of an inch. So I use that quite frequently as a top stitching guide. I did on my Sorrento jackets. And then if you say, for example, you did one, if you need 2 lines of stitching like you do for the Sorrento jacket, what I did in that case was I moved my needle all the way over to the left and then still ran the edge against the seam, and that way you're stitching way closer to it. So, you know, you can totally, an edge stitch foot is nice. And if you can get one, I highly recommend. But yeah, you can totally make it work with what you've already got. And again, practice, just do some test swatches to see what you like, because you might, the length of top stitching as well. I found that I prefer like a 3.5 on wovens, and even longer sometimes, especially on bags and things like that. So yeah, just practice and see what you like. And then when you find what you like, write it down, because not everybody like me sits at a machine for 8 hours until they finish a dress. And believe me, when you come back the next day, you will not remember exactly what you have decided on. So write it down, put it on a post-it note, stick it on the front of your machine, just make your life easier. Elena says, LA song is from Angel, but yes, Jensen sings himself in Supernatural. Oh, the LA songs. Yeah, sorry. I haven't watched Angel for so long. My favourite Angel episode was when they all got turned into puppets. I like that one a lot. Nimue is here. Hello, everyone. Sunny greetings from Germany. Don't forget to like the stream, peeps. Thank you. Yes, 148 of us now, 56 likes. Sal says, Sean, I know you're a nerd. Does that include liking The Matrix? Yes, and I haven't seen the new one yet, so no spoilers. And Catherine says, hello from Canada. Hello, welcome. Good morning. Ashley says, bought a magnetic guide to use for top stitching, especially on bags. Oh, nice. Ooh, excuse me. Woke up ridiculously early again today. Papa is here. Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Cool, blimey.
Do not complain that it's hot in here. It's lovely. What's the temperature?
Here, 22 degrees.
That's what it's set for. That's perfect. Are you going to come and say hello?
Hello. I'm out in the garden in the most beautiful, glorious weather.
It seems to be pretty...
Where it's nowhere near as hot as it is in here.
It seems to be pretty glorious all around the world today. Everybody's telling me how nice it is. It's sunny in Vienna and Munich and Bermuda.
We all worry about global warming, but we better enjoy it while we're worrying about it.
Well, yeah. Everyone's saying hi.
Hi, but spring has arrived early.
As long as it stays.
And I'm full of spring.
Yes. Oh, teeny tiny bird. There's a giant wood pigeon out there that keeps coming and staring at me.
Well, it does more than that.
Yes, well, I know, but yeah.
I know.
You've been outside, that's why you're feeling it very, very warm in here. For me, it's actually nice. I'm stationary and not doing very much, so it's actually very pleasant.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, we need
fabric over the top.
Yeah, no, it's just dust. We need to, you know, those dusting ones with the green wand that gets longer and you can get the room. We need to buy one for down here because everywhere needs dusting.
Right. Well, I'm not doing that.
No, I'm not asking you to.
Okay. Right. Cheerio.
Lots of people are saying hi.
Hi.
Jackie says that is so true. Jennifer says hi. That's a great tip. Thanks. Nimoy says hi, Danny. Natalie says hello, Papa. Caroline says hi, Whiff. Rachel Lynn says hi, Danny. Jennifer says it's chilly in Texas. It's chilly here too. Just not
chilly in Texas.
Apparently, it gets quite cold there.
Right.
Catherine says it's snowing here in Ontario. Jennifer says hello, Danny. Elena says hello, Danny. Whiff. Asley says, ooh, that seems nice. It is snowing in Istanbul for the past few days.
Look at my goldfinch.
Yeah, I said a little teeny tiny bird has turned up.
I've just...
You might need to take these ones away to encourage them to come up to the other ones to then put these back.
They'll never come up. I've just put up 2 bird boxes.
Oh!
2 tip boxes.
Nice.
Yeah. There you go. You know.
Yeah.
Not redundant.
Making homes. Yeah, it's been snowing in Istanbul for the past few days on and off, says Asley. Debbie says, how many pies would you get out of that wood pigeon? Oh, at least 5. It is huge. Huge. So Spin Knit says, hello from sunny Perth, Western Australia. Good evening. Caroline says, not that early. It is the vernal equinox tomorrow. Yes. Rachel says, I'm good. Just about to start sewing. Been procrastinating most of the morning. What are you sewing, Rachel? Asley says, it's just below 0 at night. Ooh, brr, chilly. Jennifer says, just had to turn the heater on. Yeah, I'm having to put the heater on in my bedroom because my radiator's broken. Gianna loves it. I'll come back in the day because it's the same kind of little heater as I've got down here, and I'll come back in the evenings and Gianna's like stretched out in front of the heater, like no. Nia says she's here and watching while I unpack. She is back from Kuala Lumpur. Did you have a nice time, Big Bird? It looked like you had a nice time. Oh. When are you going? Because she's going again at Christmas. When are you going at Christmas? Could one possibly tag along? That could be interesting, couldn't it? Be Vlogmas from Kuala Lumpur. Vanessa says to Catherine, is beautiful and above 0 in the northwestern Ontario so far. Brr. Gin and Pin says, and he has his outdoors top on. I've got an ostrich feather duster I love. Ooh. Yeah, we need a duster. We do. The cleaner does come down here and kind of cursory clean, but you know, there's a lot of stuff that she doesn't want to touch just in case anything gets messed up and stuff. So I'm gonna have another live chat with she says, absolutely, get saving your airfare. I think that might be a plan, Big Bird. When are you planning on going? What dates are you planning on going? Let's see. Sal says, and you'll like that I stood in the filming location of the woman in red dress scene in Sydney just a few hours ago. I'll post a video in the Peeps group. Oh, very cool. Mouse coded her, didn't he? Is that right? God, it's been a long time since I watched that. Nearly 3 years, in fact. Penelope Wigglebottom came over to say hello to the Whiff. Oh, I was talking central heat. We turn central heat on in the morning and AC at night. It's weird. And Carol says, good morning from New York City. Good morning. Right, let me get these 2 necklines pressed. Probably going to turn the iron back on again because I've been chatting for so long. It went on and off. Big Bird says 17th of December to the 3rd of January-ish, depending on flights around New Year's Eve. Ooh, I could always stay longer, couldn't I? Because I do take time off in January because I work the whole of December. 17th might be too early for me, but it would be quite nice for you guys to have some time and then me go out close. Ooh, maybe even I could fly. Ooh, we'll see. But yes, I would very much, if you don't mind, like to tag along as a third wheel for Christmas in Kuala Lumpur. The only Jenny Sutton says, joining from Cape Town, making buttonholes in my Vogue 8903 shirt dress. Nice. Loved Cape Town. Really would like to go back to Cape Town. Jennifer says, good morning to all the newcomers. Debbie says, I have been invited to a wedding reception in August at a gorgeous venue, looking at Gertie patterns, so hard to choose. Ooh, yeah. Jennifer says, do eat. Michelle says, Sean, the dress you have on is gorgeous. I love the fabric. It is the 7537 with the tiered and gathered skirt and is the Savannah Viscose. Right, let's get this neckline pressed, or these neckline pressed, and then we can get on with making these bodices. So talk amongst yourselves for a couple of minutes. Okay, nearly done with the first one. Okay. First neckline done. Big Bird says, my only fabric purchases 2 by 4 meters batik for £6.50 a meter. Pure cotton, feels like a lawn weight. I shall show you pictures in a second. They are pretty. Very pretty. Very pretty indeed. Right. Okie dokie. Necklines are finished. And let me show you these fabrics that Big Bird bought in KL, because they're pretty indeed. They've got leaves on them. I like them a lot. Very pretty. Let's see. Where did I get to? Debbie says, good morning from Arizona, USA. Good morning. Jennifer says, good morning to Debbie as well. Rachel Lynn says, Sal, we got to move her chairs. You guys are terrible. Jennifer says to Rachel Lynn, use your mind. Debbie says, and decorate her chair. You guys are terrible. Natalie says, move it left or right. You cannot be left unsupervised ever. Rachel Lynn says, I don't think I'm awake enough. We'll have to work together. Asley says, got to go study now. We'll check later if I can. Have a nice weekend, everyone. Thank you for joining us, Asley. It was nice to see you. Natalie says, okay, everyone focus. Debbie says, good studying. And Christine says, you too, Asley. Trisha says, I love the top fabric of Big Bird. Colours are gorgeous. Yes. Right. So looking at this one. Ooh. Just going to give this a quick press while the iron is still on, because I managed to press it in a crease, which we definitely don't want. That's better. Okay, so looking at the pictures, the right side crosses over the left. So let's get these lined up because we need to match up the notches. So there's notch, 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 lots of notches. We can then baste this into place to then start sewing on the midriff panels. Okay. So I've chosen to fully line the Magnolia rather than use bias binding for the neckline, just because I prefer fully lining bodices, really. Yeah, generally my preferred kind of look for clothes. So that's one pinned into place. Let's do the other one. So again, looking at the picture here, kind of not really reading the instructions. So I'm going to have the left as you wear it, but right as you look at it goes underneath, and then the right as you wear it, but left as you look at it goes on top. And there are notches. So meet all those notches up, and then I can baste this all into place. But yes, I would very much like to spend Christmas in Kuala Lumpur. I think that would be awesome. Let's see. Alexandra says, so happy to see you sewing the leaves up. Yep. And I have a little bit left over for another project. Although I might have to, well, I know I'm not going to might about it. I'm going to have to make some more bias binding so that I can hem my circle skirt. Because I use a lot of my 7.5 meters that I have already made in the seams of my maxi skirt. So, right, let's baste the bottom edge of these two into place, and then we can start putting in the midriff panels. So, I mean, when I say baste, this is permanent stitching. I won't be removing this, so I'm just doing it at the regular length. Ooh, The Expanse has just brought out season 6, hasn't it? That's another one I could start watching. But that's one I have to pay attention to, so it's not very good. For kind of like watching whilst I'm sewing. Okay, so that's one. Let's do number 2. lots of seam allowance to line up. Let's get that done. Okie dokie. Right, so now we need to attach the waistbands. So that's the back waistband and this is the front waistband. So I'm going to just because they look really similar. I mean, there is an obvious like up and down because of the curves, but just putting a pin in the top just so I don't get confused, because that would be bad. So match up my center points. So I'm going to pin in the outer waistband first, and once I've got that pinned all correctly and everything lined up, I'm then going to pin the inner waistband in at the same time and sew it all as one seam, because again this pattern wouldn't have you fully line the bodice, which is not a preference of mine, as we know, so I'm going to be making this up as I go along. Nimue says, very pretty fabrics. I love batiks. Making a quilt with them is on my long dream project list. Yeah. I have a feeling that those ones are going to end up as dresses. Do you have any plans for them, Big Bird? And Caroline says, new Audible for you, The Windsor Knot and the Three Dog Problem by S.J. Bennett. The Queen is the crime solver. Ooh. They sound fun. Debbie says, I love batiks too. Alexandra says, do you need more of the fabric? Alexandra, you're not meant to be enabling me in that manner. I know it's still available, which is awesome. I know Alison has got me 5 meters, but that's for mum and dad. I also know that I love it. I would not say no, but I am trying to be good. So Alexandra, you must stop tempting me. Nia says, so over it, ultimate shift dress and shirt for James if I can squeeze it out. Ooh, nice. Ooh, nice. James is coming back in June from what I saw on Facebook. Is that right? Are you guys going to be able to come down here for a little bit, or is his visit really flying one this time? And ooh, also, can we come stay with you for the Festival of Quilts? All the questions. She says yes, he's got a wedding to go to. Oh, cool. So it is a flying visit. Festival of Quilts, yes. That was all in capitals. She's shouting at me now. I think that was a definite approval, which is awesome. Yeah, I'd like to go to the Festival of Quilts on the first day, the Thursday, which means you'll probably have to take some holiday, if that's okay. Although, yeah, no, I want to go as a because I'm hoping to work the rest of the time there. But yeah, I'm hoping to go as a customer on the first day. She's nodding at the TV. Awesome. Right, I have pinned on my front bodice midriff. I'm just the outer one. I am now just pinning the lining into place, and I'm doing it in my lap, which I really shouldn't do. I should do it here, shouldn't I? Should pin on flat surfaces as well. So don't do as I'm showing you. You should pin everything flat. Will your mum come as well? It's kind of become a bit of a tradition, isn't it? Even though we did have 2 years off for plague reasons. Let's see. Sal says, I just moved to Sydney, so now filming locations of The Matrix are in walkable distance and from my new place. Can't wait to see them all in person. That's really cool, Sal. Natalie says, QE2 as a detective. Queen Elizabeth II as detective. Caroline says, yep, such fun, to Natalie. That does sound like fun. I will have to... Caroline, please, would you message me the name of the books like you did with the Amelia Peabody series, because we know what a sieve for brain I have, and I will forget the names of them. Right. So get the front band of the first bodice attached. Then I need to remember that I've got to put on the ties. And change my needle position. There we go. That's better. Rachel Lynn says, are you making both dresses at once? Yes, I'm batch sewing, even though I said I hated batch sewing. It doesn't seem to be too bad this time, though, because it is exactly the same dress and exactly the same fabric, just different skirts on it. Okay, so that's the front done. Here we go. Where did I get to? Natalie says, do her corgis help her sniff out clues? And Caroline says, of course the dogs are helping, to Natalie. I love this. I'm definitely going to have to look into this one. Debbie says, love audiobooks. Me too. Natalie says, that sounds amazing. I'll have to check them out. Thanks. So Spin Knit says, the fabric is gorgeous though, Shana. It is. Alexandra says, good night, sweet ones. I shall watch all this while sewing quilts for the flood victims in my area. We are spared by inches. Oh gosh, I'm so thankful for you, and what a lovely thing to do. And good night, Alexandra. It was lovely to see you. Yeah. Just having a little think about how I'm going to sew the lining in. I think I'm going to do something a little bit different. I did this before. I think it will work. So not that one. There we go. Thank you, Caroline. She's just messaged me the names of the books. Eliza says, good morning, or good morning, Eliza. Yes, this fabric is beautiful. It is really beautiful. And Alexandra sent me this 10 meters as a gift, which was incredibly kind of her. And then obviously the postage all the way from Australia as well. So I am sewing up the back of the bodice to the midriff panels. I'm going to do those individually, and I'm going to do the same thing with the front that I did with the 8009 jumpsuit. So I will have to do a little bit of unpicking on this one, but it will be fine. It'll be fine. It's always the joy when you've got a faux wrap front. It always makes the lining a little bit tricky. But I've done this before, so I'm going to do it again and we'll see how we get on. Elena says, feels like we need recommendation post in the Peeps group. Yeah. We'll have to start a thread, won't we, of like audiobooks and books to read. Sal says, indeed we do, Elena. More little chaffinches? Or is it a goldfinch? Excuse me a second, I'm just going to go and grab the tissue. I do not have a cold. I think it's hay fever starting to kick in because there's lots of things looking like they're doing springy bloom things outside. Hay fever season. Fun times. Fun times. All right. Okay. Where did I get to with the chat? Caroline says to Elena, I'll do that in a bit. Gin and Pin says, I know it doesn't take long to rethread the sewing and overlocking machines, but I'll work on the dress that needs the thread already loaded, just setting up my space. That seems perfectly reasonable to me. I think, yeah, perfectly reasonable. Where did I get to a chat? Laurel says, good morning from Chicago, everyone. Good morning. Jennifer says, oh dear to Alex. Sandra, sleep well. Elena says, thank you to Caroline. And Jennifer says, good morning to Laurel. Right. Let's get this sewn in. Making sure everything lines up. Here we go. Just do the other side. Then, like I said, I'm going to need to unpick some bits because I went a little gung-ho and completely forgot that I was going to line this in a slightly different way to usual. Never mind. Never mind. Must not forget to put in the waist ties. And second one done. There is no bin down there. Stop putting the things down there. Oh dear. Joanna says, are you taking part in the So Frugal 2022 challenge? I am not sure yet, not officially. I am probably going to be sewing along. Well, no, I am going to be sewing along at Rachel's live sew along next Sunday in the afternoon at 4 o'clock. And I'm not 100% sure yet if I'm going to be making the blouse that she's picked, although I have downloaded it and I do like it. I hate sticking together PDFs and you have to see that one together. And I also have a giant pile of stuff that's literally to the left of you that I really would like to get finished by the end of March, and none of those will work for that blouse. None of those fabrics will work. But I am doing the So Recreate the Look challenge, which is what this dress is for. So I'm going to do one challenge in March, which I am very pleased with. Jennifer says, I accidentally woke up my husband by playing a video on my iPhone and hit the sound button. Oops, he needed to get up. Oh. Rachel Lynn says, my daughter called dibs one of the fabrics I got from Mood. She said it has roses on it, so obviously I got it for her. Her middle name is Rose, so I'm guessing I'm making her an Easter dress. Oh, how lovely. And Jennifer says, rolling on the floor laughing to Rachel Lynn, I would do the same if my middle name was Dragonfly. And Joanna says, that blouse would be fab on you. Yes, I really do like the pattern, and I will pull my finger out at some point and actually, you know, stitch up the, why am I struggling? There we go. Yeah, I will sew it up at some point. I'm just not sure if I'm going to have it ready for the sew along next weekend. Although we could do a live, let's stick together a PDF and you know, make it like a see if I can get prepped and ready and cut out in time for Rachel's sew along, or I think that might be a little bit much, because we all know that if I take the time to put PDF together, I am going to trace that bugger, because I hate sticking PDFs together and I don't want to have to do it more than once. I do really like that pattern, so I can see myself wanting to make more than just the one of those. Right, so stitch ripper time. Always fun, because I have to do the lining for this in a slightly different way because of that faux wrap at the front. This is why I dislike faux wrap dresses so much. I cannot just power ahead with lining them the way that I usually would. It needs a little bit more thought. Never mind. Never mind. I have a lovely stitch ripper. Oh, someone put up a video the other day. I don't remember which sewing page it was on Facebook, but it was, you know, the correct way to use your seam ripper, and that's to put like the red bobble in between the seams and just push like that. That works really well until you cut your fabric, and you're definitely going to cut your fabric when you do that, especially if it's a lightweight fabric like this. So whilst, yes, that is a way of using it, it's not the correct way of using it, and it's not the only way of using a seam ripper, which was said in the comments quite frequently. So what I like to do is sort of like every 4 stitches or so is cut that 4th stitch, and then on the other side I'll pull the unbroken thread, and hopefully if there's enough thread to pull. There we go. Hopefully that should just come apart. At least that's the theory. Which is kind of proving slightly accurate. Yeah, there we go. So remove all of the little bits of thread. We don't want those poking out of seams. And there we go. It's one bit done. Where did we get to on the chat? Oh, let's see. Apple Blossom says, good afternoon, everyone. Sean, please may I ask you a question on the 8176? Sure. Which pattern is that? Is that McCall's? Or is it McCall's one? Anna's here. Hey, looking lovely and leafy today. Many leaves, wearing leaves and sewing leaves, Anna. How are you? Jennifer says to Apple Blossom, please ask away. Apple Blossom says, I love both your versions. It looks like the pattern line drawing. There is a center front seam and you yes, it is. Oh, right. Okay. Yes. Center front seam and you can cut on the fold. I'd like to do this. How did you manage to still get the V neckline to sit nicely? I didn't cut either of them on the fold. I cut them both with a center front seam. They're the kind of the tent dresses, aren't they? Yeah, no, I didn't. There's a center front seam on both of mine. I cut them both on the both of them as a single piece and then seam them together down the center front. If you do want to cut it with you want to cut yours with a center front seam, the grain line is not aligned with the center front seam, which is why you're cutting them into two pieces. So it will change the drape of the dress, not dramatically, but just bear that in mind. And you can totally cut it on the V. Just remember to take off the seam allowance, cut it in a V, and when you sew the facing onto the neckline, you just need to reduce your stitch length at the V. Do one stitch. So you stitch down to just before the V point, stitch one stitch across and then stitch back up and then increase your stitch line and then cut really close, obviously not through your stitching when you come to turn it through, and then understitch. So Spin Knit says, I made the Anastasia blouse on the weekend. It's an interesting construction. I really liked it. Oh, cool. Apple Blossom says, I hope that makes sense. Hopefully my answer made sense. Linda's here. Good morning, peeps. Dress looks lovely on you. Could we have a Chi and Susie update, please? Of course. We nearly had an incident last night. Dad's, because we keep the dog and the cat separate. They don't like each other. The dog doesn't like anything that's living that's got more than two legs, to be fair. And Shiana just doesn't like anyone apart from me. But Dad had gone to the bathroom. He'd left the door open. The dog came up because Mum and Dad were sleeping in my room the last time I was in London. And the dog was sniffing at the door. The cat fluffed herself up as big as she could go. Then she starts hissing and spitting and throwing herself at the door. In the last few times that she's got into a state like that, she has attacked me because it's referred aggression and I was the only thing available to be attacked, not the thing that she actually wants to attack. So then the dog starts barking, so the cat starts growling, and then thankfully I was ringing Mum at this point, hiding under the duvet because I did not want to get savaged again. I've still got the scars from last time. So I was ringing Mum, and Mum was like, oh God, my phone's ringing, but I need to get the dog. And I was like, it's me that's calling you. And so she rescued the dog, and then she was like, do you need rescuing? I'm like, no, it's fine. And Shiana calmed down and then sat back on my lap and purred. So yes, drama last night. Drama. Joanne says, hello from Cork, Ireland, by the way. Hello, welcome. Elena says, extra hangout sounds awesome. Yes. Anessa says, Sean, you could always try out PDF Stitcher. Oh, yeah, I could. Technology scares me. Jenna says, I'm just working on my entry for the So Frugal, making the McCall's 7, 9, 6, 9 and loving it. Oh. Are you making it out of a sari? Or is that somebody else? Blue and green sari? Is that you? So Spin Knit says, I also made Move Fabrics Live pants to go with it, and they're the best wide leg pants I've ever made. I love them. Ooh, nice. Linda says, ooh, Cork, dreaming of one day living there. Very nice. Michelle says, the seam ripper, I saw that and thought it's going to rip the fabric, and then I thought maybe it's just inexperience. Glad I'm not crazy. No, like it is a really quick way of ripping, and like I do it with muslins and things like that and fabrics that I don't care about, but for stuff that's delicate, like viscoses and silks and stuff like that, you're just asking to have a hole ripped right through the seam of your, and then you're screwed. So no. Anna says to So Spin Knit, hi, it sounds like you've made some great garments. Eliza says, Joanna says, yes, it's a silk sari. Oh, it's beautiful. And the print placement, so clever. Yes. Eliza says to So Spin Knit, I have an Anastasia muslin cut out and ready to go. Any advice? Nimroy says, all those seam ripper tips come down to I'd rather spend an extra hour seam ripping than ripping my fabric. Thanks. Yeah, basically. Julie's here. Hi all. Hi Julie. How are you? Apple Blossom says, McCall's, you made the burgundy colour recently. And she also says, thanks, Sean. Answer makes perfect sense. I'm so glad that made sense. But yes, awesome. The burgundy and the leafy one. Jennifer says, hi to Julie. Eliza says, yep, upgraded my Benina to a new shiny 770. Found out yesterday that it hates knit. Must be missing something, as I'm a Benina girl and can't believe the brand has a flaw. What is that? I mean, not that I'm an expert. Well, what's the problems? Julie says, missed you so, but hadn't had the opportunity to be here. Well, I'm very glad you're here now, Julie. It's nice to see you. So Spin Knit says to Eliza, when I make my next one, I plan on making a facing rather than bias binding the edge. The only other thing I would say is just measure the cuff circumference. Eliza says, thank you, So Spin Knit. We'll certainly keep that in mind. Sal says, what a catastrophe. Yeah. Joanna O'Dowd says, thank you, blushing. Would it be all right if it's Joanna's feeling crafty on Instagram, isn't it? Joanna's feeling crafty. Is it all right if I show it? Because it's so pretty. Oh, you're doing a dance as well. Yeah, no, it's beautiful. Marissa says, I tried to bag out my vest, but my shoulder straps are trapped inside. Might be time to call it a night, I think. I hope you can work it out, but thank you for joining us, Marissa, and I'm so sorry about that. Julie says, I'm okay. I've just been to gymnastics, showing my son, gymnastics show with my son, so I am kind of tired in my brain after all the noise. Oh, yeah, I can imagine. And Joanna says, yes. So, yeah, this is your So Frugal entry, isn't it? There you go. Ooh. I'm going to turn the sound down because I can't have music, but look. I love how pleased you are with yourself, but that print placement is so clever. It looks awesome. I love it. I haven't made that dress yet, but I really ought to. It's a nice one. Plug my phone back in. Joanna says, you're so kind, seriously blushing. No, you've done an amazing job on that dress. It's gorgeous. And such a clever use of the sari as well. And saris are always terrifying, especially like vintage ones like that where you cannot replace them. I'm still chickening out of using my 2 saris that I have in my stash for anything. Debbie says, so I have over 100 patterns. Can I find a flowy trouser pattern for my 3 meters of floral crepe? Can I, heck? I hate when that happens. Have you got the 7131? I do like that one. Rachel Lynn says, I just finished the Jessica dress from Mimi G. And then I haven't made that yet, but I really do like that dress. And then she's also saying that the Joanna's dress is beautiful. Anna says, wonderful to Joanna. And Laurel says, very pretty, very clever, Joanna. Yeah, some very clever print placement there. Eliza says, my stitches kept stacking and twisting the fabric, thinner rayon. I decreased foot pressure and tried a 5.0 straight stitch, but I'm sure there is a special screen or something I can't find in the book. Ooh. I am not sure what to suggest. I think it's kind of, with new machines, it's kind of trial and error. Whenever I sew on the kind of like the thin jersey on this machine, I've got my walking foot or my dual feed down. I don't change anything else though. I mean, I do change the stitch length for a slightly longer stitch length, but not as long as 5. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe put it up in the Peeps group and see if any of the Peeps have a better suggestion for you. Yeah, there we go. That side worked better than the last side. Right, so let's re-sew these pieces so that I can finish the lining the way I want to. Oh, I can't stop. Oh, I can't stop yawning, you guys. I'm so sorry. I did not sleep particularly well last night, and it is catching up with me. So basically what I've done here is for the front, I've sandwiched the wrap over piece between both layers of the midriff panels, but then I've backstitched, and then I've unpicked the side so that I can sew the 2 midriff panels separately. And I did the same thing with the 8009, and there is a sew along for that if you want to see this in more closely. But that just allows everything to be finished cleanly on the inside and me to sew up the side seams the way that I like sewing up side seams. And it'll mean that I'll be able to turn under the inner bands seam allowance, so I can slip stitch that down into place as well. Right. So keep all of the excess out of the way and get this bit sewn into place. Right, this is totally extra and just how I like to finish this particular type of bodice, but I'm sure there's many probably better ways of doing this, but yeah. Joanna says, I was a bit worried about the cultural appropriation. That I might get some negativity on Instagram, but for me, it's just a beautiful textile. Yeah, that's something that does concern me with saris. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what the answer is. Bree says, hello Peeps, I'm a bit late to the party, but better late than never. Welcome, Bree. So Spin Knit says, I love the dress, to Joanna. Elena says, stretch needle. I mean, obviously you need to use the correct needles and for whichever type of jersey that you're using. Sorry, that I mean, that should maybe that isn't obvious, but yes, if you want to sew with stretch fabrics, then use the appropriate ballpoint needles or stretch needles or the needle that works the best. But experiment, because not all needles work with all types of fabrics. Carol says, Eliza, are you starting a little bit in and then backing up? Don't start at the edge. Ooh, that's a very good tip. Or you can do the same thing that quilters sometimes do, is have like a scrap piece of fabric to start your stitching on that's butted right up against where you want to sew. But yeah, then that can get sucked into the machine really easily. So yeah, that's a good one, Carol. Nimoy says, we shouldn't have talked about seam rippers. Flatlining my waistband on the overlocker went awry. Sigh. Oh no. Julie says to Eliza, put a piece of toilet paper under your project. It should help immensely and is easy to remove afterwards. Yeah, that's a good point. Tissue paper as well. That's something that I've done in the past to stabilize a seam of knits. There's also some like iron-on stuff that you can get that will help. Chris says, hi Sean, sorry I'm late. What lining are you using for the dress you're making? I am cheating and using the exact same fabric just so that if anything peeks out, it's not super obvious. Eliza says, never heard of this idea to Julie, but I will absolutely try it. My hem was horrible and top stitching was a no-go. Yeah, that the first knit hem that I ever sewed, which I think was 5 years ago now, ended up really, really wavy. And loads of you guys suggested sewing on tissue paper, which is what I had at the time. Toilet paper would also work. You do have to pick it out of your seams afterwards. That's to bear in mind. But then you can also buy this like iron-on product that will help stabilize a knit seam and make it so that it doesn't go all wavy as well. So there's loads of tips and tricks out there. So Spins Knit says, off to bed now, big day at school tomorrow. Good night all. Good night. Julie says, Eliza, can't remember when I picked it up, but it works well. Eliza says to Joanna, I understand your concern over cultural appropriation. I have several lovely wax fabrics from South Africa and I'm hesitant to use it. Yeah, there's it's a minefield. It is a minefield, and I think you need to just be as sympathetic to what people are saying about things being done in certain ways. But again, there is no right answer. Julie says, oh, and pin, pin, pin. Yes, that's also a really good tip. Right, let's get this little bit finished and move on to the next one. I have no idea why my voice is this croaky. It's very annoying. I was gonna do my voiceovers, not my voiceovers, my sew along intros and outros. I think I'm just gonna have to grin and bear it and accept that I'm going to have some croaky videos for a while because I don't think this is gonna change. Okay. That's one done. Let's do the other side. Then remember to do this for the other dress. Trimming off threads. Right, now let's get the other bits pinned and then sewn. And then whilst I remember what I'm doing, I will do this for the other bodice so that I don't have to unpick anything for that one, because that would be nice. Joanna says, I think as fabric collectors, there is no greater appreciation, is there? No, definitely not. Definitely not. I believe African wax prints originated in Holland, Netherlands, I believe. Again, I am no expert, so I have no idea if this is actually correct or not. But I think they were originally a Dutch product. We're talking hundreds of years ago. Carol says the African wax fabrics are really perplexing as they were culturally appropriation 2 times to begin with. Debbie says Juliet Uzo posted a great guide to African print fabrics on her YouTube channel, including if it is appropriation. Do check it out. Renske says yes, it is. Vilsko. I think that was in response to it was originally a Dutch product. I think one of the things that people need to be kind of like thoughtful about is the actual history behind certain fabrics and styles, and sort of researching them and finding out their history and where they ended up and how they ended up in the culture that they have. And I think the more you understand about where something came from, the more you can make an informed decision about this is appreciation or appropriation. But again, I am not an expert, and I don't want to claim to be so. And obviously, I can only speak for myself and not for anybody else. So yeah. Miske says, I asked my Dutch uncle to get me African fabric from Africa, where he works, and he told me to get it in the Netherlands. Carol says, yes, the Dutch tried to mass produce batiks and then sell them back to Indonesia, where they did sell. They found a market in Africa. Finn says, saris. I used to live in India. Buying secondhand saris can give financial independence to women who have never worked outside of the home and find it impossible to get a paid job. And Bree says, wear them with joy. I think it's like I say, I think if there's an area that you're feeling uncomfortable about, research, look into things, work out, like the origins of what you're using. And because the textile history is fascinating, and like the chintz became around for something, and then there was taxes on this because importing from France became, and so these fabrics became illegal in 17th century and things like that. And again, this is just random little snippets of information that I've picked up along the way from watching programs like the Great British Sewing Bee, because they do in-depth kind of like delves into different things that they're working on those weeks. And I think it's important to kind of work out why things became popular and where they originated from, and then make informed decisions from there. But that's, again, like I say, it's just it's what I would do. I've been given a beautiful piece of African wax print. It was a present, and I got to pick the fabric, but I was given a voucher by Karen, and the only proviso was, she was like, buy yourself a birthday present from me, here is £50. The only proviso is you have to buy an African wax print, and I really want to see what you do with it. And I've gotten a beautiful one down there, and I'm terrified of ruining it because it's just this beautiful thing that I don't know what to do with. And I, of course, picked one that's got crystals all over it, because of course I did. I kind of think I know what I want to make with it. It's definitely going to be a Gertie dress, but yeah, it's. I would like to do more research into the history of it. But yes, I do believe they, as somebody has said, originated in the Netherlands, and then they were trying to sell it back to Indonesia, and then it got picked up by a different market and became wildly popular there. I think the other thing as well is if you make something and somebody says to you that, you know, this thing has made me feel a certain way because of this, you need to listen to the thing that the person is saying and just take it on board and be like, okay, and learn from it. Like, nobody's perfect. Everyone's going to make mistakes. And you know, you're human, and everybody's human. And I think the thing to take away from anything is that we're all going to mess up, and it's how you deal with that mess up, rather than, you know, don't double down, stick your head in the sand like certain people have done, and it just makes it so much worse. Learn from it, like, you know, admit that, you know, I had no idea. Thank you for telling me. Let me look into this more. I made I think I've told you guys this before. I had a lady who I made 3 wedding dresses for. She had 4 ceremonies, and her partner was Chinese. She was English, and their civil ceremony at the courthouse, she wanted a red dress with the, I'm going to say the name wrong, Xiong neckline with a circle skirt, and she picked out some beautiful, what happened to be upholstery fabric, and I used the Gertie pattern, and she looked amazing in it. And you know, her husband loved the fact that she had made the effort to nod to his culture, because red is a lucky color. Most Chinese brides get married in red. White is actually the color of funerals. It's a very unlucky color in China. And so, yes, so he loved the fact that she'd made the nod to their heritage. And then her mum had brought back a vintage silk sari from India, and she wanted me to cut it up and use it for part of one of her wedding dresses. And it was green with red kind of like geometric elephant motifs around it. And I paired that with Liberty Tresco print for a mermaid fit and flare gown. And oh my God, cutting into that thing was the most terrifying thing I've ever done. But the dress itself ended up looking fabulous on her. And then she had an African wax print that another family member had brought back for her from another trip, like a grandmother or something. And she'd herself made a skirt from it for her first son's christening. And she wanted me to make her the Deer and Doe Magnolia dress out of the remainder of it for her daughter's christening, because when I met her, she was pregnant. So I made these 3 things for her, and they all had different cultures all built into them, but there was reasons behind all of the decisions that she'd made, and they all felt like, you know, I had no problem making any of those things, and she looked amazing in all of them. So I think it's educating yourself on the history of things and making decisions from there. There are certain things that I don't think anybody should appropriate, and not that I'm going to go into details about that, but there's certain things that I think that are specifically for certain people and should be left that way. And there are other things that you can show appreciation for sympathetically, but again, it's a minefield, total minefield. Where did I get to with the chat? Joanna says, at the end of the day, this sari was not used sitting in somebody's attic, and it's now looking fab on my body. As a dressmaker, I truly appreciate the fibre. I even French seamed the whole damn thing, and I hate French seaming. And yes, Brie, lots of joy wearing it. And my opinion, that's the greatest appreciation there is. Historically Fashioned says, as an Indigenous American, I'll tell you what my father, an elder, healer, and teacher taught me. And there are some designs and items that hold cultural and spiritual significance. Those items should only be used, worn by the person they were created for. Totally, 100% agree with you. The only Jenny Sutton says, I have made several garments from shui, the traditional fabric used by African women to make dresses. Every time one of them sees me in my shui clothes, they give me a big grin or a thumbs up. Awesome. Sal says, fun fact, silk was found in China 5,000 years ago by a princess. Discovered it when cocoons could be unraveled to produce a thread when one dropped into her tree while sitting under a mulberry. One dropped into her tea while sitting under a mulberry tree. Why can I not read today? Oh, that's very cool. That's very cool. And Nimue says, what makes the whole discussion more complicated is that one member of a community might be enthusiastically in favour of your project while another is deeply offended, and neither is wrong. Yes, exactly. Historically Fashion says there are some, there are some things that are meant to be shared. If an item is being sold to the general public or is given freely as a gift, then it is appropriate to be worn, used by anyone. Yeah, I mean, that's a really good way of looking at it. And again, I think if you're worried about something, if you find a, you know, a type of fabric or something that you're worried about, research, because why are you worried about it? Why are the alarm bells ringing? And, like, you know, find out. We have the internet in this day and age. We have all these resources. Not that the internet is completely infallible, and check your sources, and don't just take one person, because, as Nimoya said, you know, like, one person could be deeply offended by something where another person's just like, oh my god, you look fabulous in it, and both be from the same culture, and neither of them are going to be wrong. But I think if you're worried about something, find out why you're worried about it. You've got a you know, there's a thing in the back of your head for a reason. Joanna says, we do tend to overthink it a bit, don't we? I don't think overthinking it is a bad thing, though. I think we're all becoming much more aware that cultural appropriation and things like that exist. And yeah, Joanna says it's that overthinking it is better than being disrespectful, and that's the point. That is the point. And again, we are all human, and you have to be prepared to be wrong. And if somebody says to you, you're wrong for this reason, I'm not saying rude, you know, if somebody's just being rude for the sake of being rude or something like that. But if somebody comes to you and says, this is offensive because of this, that, or the other, then yeah. I mean, there was a whole thing with Gertie and one of the patterns that she released last year. And she had researched back to the 50s to this Hawaiian designer who had taken this thing and turned it into, and like westernized it and completely turned it into this cultural thing that hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people adopted. But the trouble was with Gertie's, well, and his as well, she hadn't gone any further back than this designer that she admired in the 50s, and to figure out where he got the idea from, she just stopped there. And there was a whole hundreds of years longer history about this particular pattern and outfit that she had released. She ended up renaming it, but she listened, she acknowledged that she'd messed up, she put up the research and like the information that she'd been given about this thing, and was just like, oh, okay, you know, like, I didn't know this. I have now got more education. I have learnt new things. This is this. I understand, you know. And that's the point, is that even it doesn't matter if you're wrong, if you accept it gracefully and kind of work out a way of gracefully acknowledging the fact that you fluffed up. And everybody's allowed to fluff up. Nobody's perfect, and nobody's saying you have to be perfect. That's not the point. But the point is to kind of educate yourself and research things and have a look into the history of things. And, you know, I find some of that stuff fascinating. I love those segments on the Great British Sewing Bee where they're just like, oh yeah, there's this and this for this reason. And it's like, oh, that's cool. And I think that was where I found out that African wax prints originated in Holland as a product that was meant to be sold back to Indonesia, or I can't remember the exacts of it. But yeah, I think that's was the Great British Sewing Bee, is where I learned about that. And I think as long as we are open to learning, and I'm not saying that, you know, because some people can be very forthright and maybe a little bit too much when talking about, you know, like, yeah, it is a minefield. You need to be careful. You need to do your own research. You need to look into things and work out how you feel about the thing, and how this, that thing should be handled, and we have the resources to do that in this day and age. So yeah. Joanna says, what dress are you recreating, Sean? It's one that I found on Pinterest years ago, and then somebody in the Peeps group actually messaged me and just went, oh my god, I've never seen a dress that's more you. And it was like, yes, I have this pinned, you know me so well. 2 secs, I will show you. I will show you. I've got Pinterest. I have a whole board that is so recreate the look inspiration images. Here we go. It's not. Ooh. There we go. This one, and it's not. I mean, could I have a better fabric? I mean, this original fabric apparently is polyester. I have no idea where that dress originates from, though. I've tried doing a Google image search, and I cannot find who the original designer of that dress was. If anybody knows, let me know, because I have a feeling that it might be kind of like a recreation of the Jennifer Lopez Versace dress. I don't know if it was originally a designer dress and somebody, like, because it's basically on all of those really inexpensive clothing websites like Shein and AliExpress and things like that. For somebody messaged me the other day and was just like, oh my god, that dress that you're recreating, it's available for £22. And it was like, wow. I was tempted to buy the £22 dress just to see what turned up. Because I'm thinking it's kind of like a recreation of the Jennifer Lopez Versace dress. Because I think I remember pinning something similar around the same time as as Jennifer Lopez modeled it again in her 50s on like the Paris runways, I think. But again, I am not 100% sure. Not 100% sure. Right. So. Carolyn says, hello, sweet peeps. Hello. Joanna says, what dress are you recreating, Sean? Wow, perfection. Sarah says, yay, good morning. Good morning, Sarah. Joanna says, and natural fiber score. I know, right? Joanna says, £22. What, doesn't it make you angry? Yeah, exactly. I mean, no dress should cost £22 to make. The cost of paying the person who makes it, just no. We have a very strange. I do try and not be too political, but yes. Julie says, I'll be off, just need a nap. Good night, Julie. Oh, well, have a good nap, Julie, and it was really nice to see you. But yeah, I think fast fashion has a lot to answer for. As you guys know, I'm a huge Bernadette Banner fan, and every now and again she will talk about how like clothes were remade and different dresses like had day bodices, evening bodices, walking bodices and things to go with the same skirt to save fabric, and clothes were not worn once and thrown away. And I just the cost of clothing on the height, like I've recently heard a group of people, saw a group of people discussing the cost of Karen Millen trousers. They were £180 for a wool blend trouser, and they were bitching about the fact that they were polyester, had some polyester in them, and were £180, as if that was expensive for a pair of trousers. But it's not. That's what clothing shouldn't be as cheap as it is. and we shouldn't have as much as we do. I am not one to talk because I have far more clothes than one person, 3 people would ever need, and I have fabric to make many, many more. And I love having all of the options, but clothing is far too inexpensive for paying people living wages. And that's not all of them, but it is. I mean, Karen Millen is a really bad example because they're owned by Boohoo, who have a terrible reputation. And a lot of that £185 for the pair of trousers, I doubt goes to the people that actually make them. But and again, I could go down lots of rabbit holes and things like that. The cost of living, and there's lots of stuff that I just think is really, really badly imbalanced and needs to be changed. But yeah. Eliza says, just a reference. I used to spend summers in South Africa and Botswana. Wearing and sewing it there with friends was acceptable and encouraged, but here it is different. I mean, that's the thing. It's never going to be the same everywhere in the world either, and that's another kind of hurdle that everyone has to navigate. Sarah says, the availability of cheap clothing has massively adjusted our expectations of what good clothing should cost, for sure. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons that I stopped making clothes for other people, because I just was not making money doing that at all. I was not charging cheap amounts of money for that. You know, the last commission that I did was a wedding dress, and I did make myself a profit on that, and not an extortionate one, but it was fairly priced. And that dress was a simple heavy satin dress, and I charged £700 to make that thing, and that was a living wage for me, and then the cost of all the work that went into it. And the bride looked beautiful. The bride paid that money, and I gave her the pattern, and she's made clothes for herself from that pattern because it fits her really well. She really likes it. She sent me pictures of them the other day, and it was beautiful. But that's the reason I stopped making clothes for other people, is because it was stressful, and also the amount of money that I needed to charge for me to make a living wage was a lot, not extortionate. It was a lot. And when people say things like the Tuata Matoshi strawberry dress was £500, £600, that was actually a really, really good price for the way that dress was created and made. That was an amazing price. And then so many people were like, oh, it's too expensive. And it's like, no, it's actually not. For the amount of fabric included in that and the cost of making that dress, that was actually a damn good price. But yeah, the high street has completely skewed people's view of what good clothing should cost. Bree says, this is the whole reason I started to sew 12 months ago. Slave trade in clothing industry is mind-boggling. Yeah. And I'm not trying to say that, because I appreciate that certain people can only afford certain things, and I'm not trying to say that they should not have new things. I just think that we really do need to examine a whole bunch of stuff within the clothing industry. Joanna says, which is why your bespoke dresses wasn't successful. Fast fashion devalued our craft. Yeah, exactly like I've just said. Yeah. I can't compete with the high street and pay myself a wage. So yeah. Nimue says, since I learned that there is no automated way to crochet, I will not buy fast fashion crochet work ever again. Imagine who underpaid those women must be given what we know about seamstresses. Yeah, exactly. Oh, I think I've just taken my earring out. Whoops. There we go. That's better. Chandash says, I think the same is true for food. Yep. Nicola says, but it's all relative. Not everyone has disposable income to buy expensive clothing. Exactly, Nicola. I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. And I'm not saying that that those people should only buy secondhand. I'm not saying that I have the answer. I'm not saying that what we are doing now is right, though. I think it's. I mean, the clothing industry is the second largest polluter in the world. And the amount of stuff that ends up in landfill is mind-boggling. It's just mind-boggling. And I do not have the right answer. And I'm 100% agree with you that not everybody has the disposable income to buy a £185 pair of trousers, especially if they are high fashion and specific styles rather than classic things. I'm not saying that people should not have access to clothing that they like and want to wear at reasonable price points at all. I don't know what the answer is. I really don't know what the answer is. Shahida says, hi, Shan and Peeps. It's absolutely fine to make saris into clothing, blankets, curtains, cushions, etc. It has always been done in India and Bangladesh. Ah, that's good to know. Like, it's not just, it's something that is done by everybody. Fabric is fabric. But again, that's not meant to be insensitive. This is such a minefield. I do not want to say the wrong thing. Joanna says, we've gone very deep today. I apologize. Not at all. I mean, these kind of conversations are really interesting and do need to happen. And we ought to be asking these kind of questions far more often. The reason I'm kind of like skirting around some of these issues is because this will be there forever. The internet is forever. And these are my thoughts without any research or, planning off the top of my head. This is how I feel. I don't want to say the wrong thing. So I'm trying to be balanced about it, but yeah, I don't have the answer either, so it would be nice if I did. Sarah says, oh my goodness, to Nimue North, didn't know that. Well, time for me to learn to crochet if I want new cardigans. Bree says, farmers growing the fibers, the machinery to create the fabric, the dye to dye it, the people all along the way who make it and pay peanuts. It's time for a change. Efri says, homemade's supposed to be cheaper, more affordable. If ready to wear is cheaper, something is wrong. Yeah, I mean, there's all those memes going around that, like, oh, you must save so much money by sewing your own clothes. No, this is not a cheap or inexpensive hobby at all. It is not. And you're right. They're, yeah. Anessa says, we are covering all the touchy topics today, lol. I have to say, Shan, though, I appreciate that you also understand that some of us can only afford the cheaper stuff. I mean, this is the thing. This is not just within the clothing industry. There is such a discrepancy between the super, super wealthy and then there was a guy, I can't remember what his name was, but he is like a money expert, and he's saying that the cost of inflation is affecting the people with the lowest incomes the most, because it's the cost of a tin of beans has gone up something like 300%. But then if the same was applied to the £10 ready meal that you can get from M&S for like two mains, a dessert and a bottle of wine for a tenner, that by the same increment, the same inflation, that should have gone up to be something like 30 odd quid. And it's the smaller, the lower priced items in the supermarket that are getting the largest price increases on them, which is making people with the smallest incomes really, really struggle to actually feed themselves from day to day. And it was a really interesting, because the higher priced items and the kind of like the things that more affluent people would be buying are not being affected as much. So they're just like, everything's fine. And it's like, actually, no, like the most vulnerable are the ones that are getting hit. And again, I don't know what the answer is, but it was just something really eye-opening when I saw that. Rachel Lynn says, I'm looking into making dancewear, but people will spend the amount of money for them. But people will spend the amount of money for them. I was very surprised. Oh, okay. Caroline says, V from Snappy Dragon has done a fascinating YouTube on Victorian thrifting, worth a watch. Yes, I haven't seen that yet, but I saw the thumbnail for that one. Anna said, there is no shame in thrifting as well. Sometimes we can pick up such great things at a fraction of the cost price. Yay. I mean, that's another reason that thrifting has become so popular, especially with younger generations, is because they don't want to purchase new things. They are trying to, like, my best friend hasn't bought new clothing for a good 15 years now. Everything that she gets is pretty much thrifted, and that's just how she has chosen to live. And it is a cost consideration for her, but also like no new things, no new textiles and stuff like that. So yeah. Amber says, I personally either buy most of my clothing secondhand or make it myself. My kids have secondhand clothing since they grow so fast. Natalie says, if people were paid a living wage, they wouldn't have to buy cheap fast fashion. Rachel says, I think as well, though, that there are a lot of people, particularly in the UK, that really don't care about clothing. They just need to clothe their bodies, and style is not important to them. Yeah. I mean, like I say, I don't have the right answer, and I'm not saying that I do. I just think it's I mean, maybe we need to go back to the barter system because, like, and again, this is just out loud thinking. I don't have the right answer, and I have not researched this topic at all. Megan says, I agree with you. One thing that made me sad recently was Kathy Hay abandoning her Worth peacock gown, the Indian embroidery firm making the fabric. I have to say I agree with her abandoning that one. I think that if she had looked in, that project has been fraught from the beginning, and it's been going on for over 12 years. And I think given the history of that dress, I think in that specific dress, I do think it was the correct thing to abandon that. She is now doing a embroidered velvet coat, and I'm hoping that she is going to be sending the panels off to be embroidered at the same place that she would have had the peacock dress embroidered. But I do think that that was the correct decision to abandon that dress. I think, yeah, I don't think that was a good one. Rachel says, they just want cheapest chips. When you look around at Italian French women and how they dress, and then look at any British tan, yeah, I mean that's there are things that get passed down through families and things like that. Like, I think one of the reasons that the only existing or really well preserved existing gowns from hundreds of years ago are the smallest ones, and everyone's like, oh, everyone was smaller back then. No, they weren't. But the bigger gowns had way more fabric in them, so they could be taken in and they could be worn and reused and reloved and refashioned multiple times because they were bigger, so they could be made smaller and smaller, to the point where the fabric wore out, and then they were used for dish rags and things like that. And I think that's one of the reasons that there's not that much clothing surviving through history, is because maybe the ones that survive are like the really fancy evening gowns for the tiny, the ones that were tight lacing for a specific ball or something like that, and it was never really going to be worn more than the once, but it was already made so small. And even those ones, it was super wealthy people that were preserving them for memories and things like that. I have dresses in my wardrobe that I can't get into anymore, but I keep because of the memories attached to them. So yeah. Debbie says some of the differences, I believe, is the custom and homemade are very different things. Definitely. Sarah says the only way sewing our own clothes becomes cost effective is when you compare the responsibly produced quality clothing, which will be more expensive than army mades. Yes, 100%. Megan says I didn't mind making it for her. Being rude or ignorant was not her goal, and it just seemed sad to me. The trouble is, she wasn't just going to make it for her and wear it around. She was going to show it off on a YouTube channel. She was going to wear it to events. I mean, I can understand the fascination with it, and the more research that she did into it, the more kind of stuff was uncovered. But I am glad that she has abandoned that project. I don't think it should have been made. As I say, I think the velvet coat that she's embroidering now is still going to be, or making now, is still going to be embroidered by the same people. Because I'm not saying that they should have been put, lose a giant commission like that. But the other side of things was as well, she was billing it as the impossible dress, and for her to do by hand, yes, completely. It would have taken her 15 years to do all the embroidery, and I think that would have been a very different thing. But it didn't become the impossible dress. It just became the how much money can I throw at this dress. And again, this is my opinion, and I'm not saying I'm right. There were so many problems with that dress. It is sad that it won't be. I mean, the thing is, it already exists. A replica doesn't need to be made of it. It already exists and is on display. And yeah, Sarah says to Megan, it seems like there were a lot of behind the scenes stuff going on there, and that isn't so great. I have a feeling that this is a topic best avoided here, though. Yes, there's a lot of history behind it. Like I say, it was a 12-15 year thing that she's been talking about doing for a very long time, and trying to crowdsource and crowdfund for a very long time. And Google and have a look at the history of her project of the dress rather than, but again, yeah. Anna says, I do not think there is anything wrong with any of the prices at what end of the spectrum is thrifted to couture. It is the education and lack of understanding that goes behind said clothing or things. Joanna says, oh, the peacock dress. Megan says to Sarah, I understand and don't want to bring any negativity here. It is a slippery slope of dangerous ground. I mean, I have no leg to stand on with objecting to the dress for the cultural appropriation reasons. I have listened to those objections and have to say I agree with them. And then also, I find the whole history of it problematic. And you can Google and find out more of the history of it, not just from Kathy. But I'm going to, unless it comes up in the comments again in a second, I'm going to start talking about it. Joanna says, it was the right decision, but I learned so much on her journey, and education is what we all have to do to be culturally respectful. Yes. Michelle says, I thrift and cycle a lot because it's great for the pocketbook and the environment. Making clothes is also quite economical in Bermuda because selection can be limited and prices astronomical. Kathy says, I have to go now. It's been nice hanging out with you. Thank you for hanging out with us, Kathy. It was nice to see you. Anna says, on a lighter side note, imagine in 10 years or 100 years or more, people coming here, listening to our conversations, clothing as we know it now might look very different. Yeah, totally. Jennifer says, and she was trying to use original methods, which was going to instigate old feelings. Sorry, coming in on the tail end of the conversation, trying to fix breakfast. No worries. Caroline says, at least the original craftsmen have now been identified and their skills acknowledged. Yes, there has been an update to the museum's website where they have now finally done that. And I'm not sure that it should have taken somebody else to do that. Like the museum should have totally done that themselves, because the knowledge was obviously out there. So yes. Anyway, shall we move on? Ooh. Rachel says, even now, though, I see that lots of beginners, when they ask questions about sewing, are always asking why fabric is so expensive and how they can get it cheap. People still look to sew to make cheap clothes. Yeah. I think, as we've all said, like the whole kind of culture of what we've grown into as a society has kind of warped our perceptions of things. And again, I don't know what the right answer is. Not remotely saying that I do. It's just we can't keep treating our world the way that we are and expect to be able to live on it for a substantial amount of time. All these disaster movies and stuff that get made, they're fun action things, but there's stuff with fair amounts of truth in it. So yeah, and it's like, it's not going to be the global warming won't be the end of the world, but it'll be the end of the world as we know it. The world has been through many climate changes. Many climate changes. The point is that us as humans, as we are, will not be able to survive. The world's going to keep on spinning. It'll change. The world will change. But if we want to be able to survive on it, we need to change a lot of things. And again, I am not perfect. Look at all this fabric. And, as I've said, the clothing industry, fabric industry, is one of the second largest polluter in the world. I have made lots of little changes in the house. Like we have, I think I've talked about this before. We get our loo roll from Who Gives a Crap because it is made from bamboo rather than trees, which grow quicker and is more sustainable economically. We have small cleaning products. Again, they send refills for the containers that we have, so that you don't have to keep buying or like the plastic bottles. You just buy like a little tablet, you put it in, you put the water in, it works. And better for the environment. The same with the fabric softener from them. You know, we're trying lots of little changes. One thing that we really do need to stop doing is using so many plastic food bags. So we need to work out a solution for that. I want to try and get some of those make your own beeswax wraps. I saw somebody had made reusable, like a large reusable beeswax things that you could either cut down to the right size or use as the like meter long strip of it. But you know, there's lots of little things that we can do, and they're not all going to cut it, but the more little things that we do, the more it's all going to add up and the better it will be. We just, you know, we've got one go on this earth, and as I say, the earth is not going to stop existing. It's not going to be the end of the earth, but what will stop existing is the way life as we know it, if we're not careful. Joanna says, do you follow historical costumers on YouTube? If so, who? I love Bernadette Banner. Again, Sean made me obsessed with her work. Yeah. I really like Morgan Donner's channel. Claire. There was one, she's just made a corset. I love her channel. No, that's my channel. I don't need to have a look at that. Let's see. I think it's Claire Chang, but I want to get it right. Claire Zhang, sorry. Fan lacing. She made a 1830s corded corset, and yeah. Again, somebody's going to need to remind me, but I'll put it up in the Peeps group. Who else do I watch for historical costuming? There's loads of them. There's only a few that I watch regularly. Tricia says, love Bernadette Banner. Joanna says, also closet historian. Yes, Rachel brought her to my attention and she's amazing. I can listen to her forever. Yeah, Bianca is amazing. I love Bianca. Super large girl crush on Bianca. There was somebody else that I was just going to mention, and it's completely gone out of my brain. V Birchwood, she's only been sewing for a little while, and she recently had her YouTube channel demonetized, which is really sad. And she sews everything by hand. Yeah, Rachel Maxey, she's not a historical costumer as such. She's more of a cosplayer, but I do. Well, I love watching her sew, although I want to come and like press everything. But yeah, she makes some amazing stuff. Brie says, I made a heap of elasticated double-sided bowl covers about 4 years ago and haven't looked back. They are fabulous into the wash when dirty, fresh as new to start with. Nice. Yeah, we got sent Louise sent us some reusable kitchen roll. We love it, like absolutely love it. It's amazing. Carol says, I'm very happy with a set of silicone bowl covers. Good for storage and saves a lot of plastic wrap. Awesome. Yeah. Dad likes to portion out the stuff that he puts in the freezer, and he will put it into these single-use plastic bags to do so that you can just get a portion of the chicken out rather than having to defrost like 10 breasts of chicken at a time, which I totally understand. And putting it into bags is very space saving because we have a tiny freezer. But yeah, I need to find a better solution for them than that. Joanna says, checking Morgan as we speak. Fab, thanks. Awesome. Brie says, I made small ones and large ones to go over pie dishes, etc. Nice. Natalie says, did you see Rachel had dyed her hair brown? Made me think of you, Sean. Oh, thank you. I did see that. Yeah. Nimue says, Nicole Rudolph is great if you're into educational context. So is Abby Cox. Carol says, costuming drama, so stealing Abby Cox. Yes, all good channels. Trisha says, I also love Abby Cox as well. Historically Fashion says, I love Nicole Rudolph, very knowledgeable. She made a historically accurate Gonzo costume recently, didn't she? I loved that. Nimue says, I enjoyed Noelle from Costuming Drama. Lady Rebecca Fashions. Cat's Costumery. Cat's Costumery is another one that I watch very frequently. Nimue says, not to forget Angela Clayton. Of course, she hasn't posted anything in ages. I love her stuff. Sarah says, Mariah Patty has a fun channel. She does a lot of self-drafting and historical influence capsule wardrobe plans. Yeah. Yeesh. Oh, the internet just went out here. Is everyone back? I just lost like 30 of you as well. Eesh. Oh. Is it working again? That's good. I think it is. Debbie says, I'm teaching my 5-year-old granddaughter to hand sew. We watched Bernadette Banner making her white waist apron by hand. Once we watched her, she said she wanted to do that, and we did. Oh, cool. Historically Fashion said, Pocketful of Posies is great too. Nice. I haven't heard of that one. I shall have to check them out. Ruth says, can you get reusable freezer bags in Lakeland? You can get reusable freezer bags in Lakeland. Ooh, good knowledge. I shall have to have a look into those. Jen Pin says, I've been missing for 45 minutes on the phone to my sister. What have I missed? You can go back and watch it, but it all got very kind of sensitive topics. Linda says, Frozen. Hopefully it's back. Natalie says, you missed a lot of serious political discussion about cultural appropriation. Yes. Kelly says, hi all. I'm late this afternoon. Went for a walk with Mr. Wilbur. That's fine. Welcome, Kelly. Jennifer says, I'm here. Maggie says it's back. Sarah says it paused for a good minute, but it's back. Priscilla says it's back here, by the way. Hello, welcome. Carol says yes. Laurel says glitched, but you're back now. Nimue says shortly frozen, but running now. Fiona says I'm back. Ruth says I had a blip, but I think okay now. It was definitely my end. I'm sorry. Caroline says, I didn't know if it was you or me. Bernadette has a book coming out. She does indeed. Jenna Pin says, I thought it was just me. No, I'm afraid it is the shonky internet here on the Isle of Wight. The hamsters are clearly not running fast enough. Those naughty, naughty hamsters. No carrots for them. Right, I need to remember to put in my waist ties before I sew up my side seams. Must not forget that. Must not forget. Joanna says, and all that political discussion started with my silly, silly dance, lol. And very pretty dress. It's like I say, I am not averse to talking about those kinds of subjects. I just do not want to say the wrong thing, although I need to take my own advice and just admit that I am human, and if I get it wrong, if I get told, then I need to learn from that. So, yeah. Crafty Magpie says, wrapping stuff in paper wax wrapping before putting it in the freezer reduces freezer burn and reduces the number of bags you need to use. Yes, I need to get Dad some of the stuff that I saw, some of those like beeswax wraps and things, because we do use far too many of those, and that's the next thing that I really want to change. But I need to find something that's going to work for him, because it needs to be usable and workable for him and convenient. So I should be doing some research. But that's the thing, lots of little changes. Lots of little changes. we doing so far? It's really nice seeing these giant piles of lots of single pieces of fabric turning into, like, you know, the more that you sew together, the less there are these just random little bits floating around, and you've got like actual clothing developing. Okay. So I've got the front on. Now I can put the back on. Where did I get to with the chat? Megan says, the velvet coat is going to be amazing. You're right in your points. I hadn't thought about it in so many ways. I hope there are any hard feelings. No, not at all, Megan. Not at all. Not at all. Like, again, my opinion is not the right opinion. It's just my opinion. And you're totally entitled to yours and stuff like that. I do think it might be worth having a Google and just having a look at some of the other stuff that's going on with that particular project. But again, we'll leave it there. But no hard feelings at all. Honestly, this is fine. Like, open debate is totally fine. And as I say, my opinion is my opinion. I'm entitled to it. It's not right. I'm not saying everyone has to agree with it, but yeah. Rachel says, I tried the beeswax wraps and found my sandwiches dried out too quick. See, when I started working at Playboy, we had 8 weeks of training school, and we were getting paid minimum wage. And for the amount my rent was and where I lived in London, that was not enough to clothe and not even like house and feed me. So my mum and dad very kindly subsidized my cost of living for food whilst I was training at Playboy, because they knew that by the end of it, I'd end up with a really, really good job. So it was worth it. So I went and bought myself a couple of lunch boxes, like the resealable lunch boxes, and then I would have a cooking day on a Sunday where I would batch make my bolognese and couscous dish and like a whole bunch of things that would get put into these lunch boxes, so I could take them out each day for lunch. So I have a whole bunch of really fancy kind of like nice lunch boxes, and there was one that had all these compartments in it, and so you could make a salad, but you could have the lettuce and the wet stuff in this particular compartment, and you could have the croutons and meats and stuff like that shouldn't be touching the lettuce and getting soggy in a different compartment. And then there was a little thing for the salad dressing. I still have that. It's currently in storage, but yeah, I still have that lunchbox, and I love that lunchbox because it was like I could have the salad I wanted without having to worry about everything getting soggy in the hours that it was sitting there. But yeah, my sandwiches in my lunchbox as well. Hello. Sarah says, my cat is so relaxed in my lap, she just drooled on my hand. My first cat used to come and sit on my lap and knead, like looking at me, just staring at me, and literally just drool while because she was just so like, oh, this is awesome. She'd sit there and she'd be like dripping down. Love you. I love you so much. Tiana comes and sits on my lap and does the same like kneading and like I love you, but she never drools. She does get I love it when cats get so relaxed on a lap, but they like precariously perch themselves on the side and they get relaxed and then they fall off, and it's like must immediately have a bath to cover the confusion. Let's see, where did we get to? Natalie says, my cat Coco drools every time she's happy and relaxed. Yeah, Purdy used to just do the same. I also taught her like I'd be stroking her or petting her, and I'd stop and she'd be like, you want kisses, don't you? And I taught her that the more if she wanted more petting, she had to give me a kiss on the face, so like rub her face against mine. So it was like I'd get one each side, and then it'd be like, and now some more stroking, and you know, like 5 minutes of stroking, and then stop, and she'd be like, fine, I still love you. Tiana, when she wants attention, she sits next to me. She's like this. I'm just like, what do you want? You have food, you have water. She's like, I want the lap. You're editing. Move the tray. So move the tray back, and she comes and sits on the lap. And then she just gets into the most awkward positions. She is absolutely convinced that her head needs to be here. So I'm like sitting, like I've got one of those like trays with the computer on it. So I'm sitting here doing this. She's down here, but she's like, no, my head must be here. So I'm like doing this. and her head's going backwards and forwards, and she's just looking at me. She's like, "Stop moving." It's like, no, I need to work. Yeah. Laura says, I think I heard beeswax wraps aren't appropriate for raw meat. Might need something else for portioning that out. See, I want to get a whole bunch of those like stackable Tupperware things. Like, yes, again, it's plastic, but it's not going to be thrown away plastic. I want to get one of those so that it's like stackable. We did try with a whole bunch of IKEA stuff, but we end up just putting leftovers in it and then like storing them when they haven't got the things in it. I think what we need to do is go through our freezer and kind of like reorganize, because we end up with stuff in the freezer that just gets shoved in there and forgotten about. So we need to go through the freezer, take stock, reorganize, work out how to best store things in there, and just try and get rid of those single-use plastic bags because they drive me up the wall. Yeah. Megan says, I hope I have not worn out my welcome here. Really enjoy coming here and truly hope I've not offended you, Shan, or anyone else here. Mea culpa. No, not honestly, Megan, not at all, not at all. A discussion like this is totally fine. Honestly, totally fine. And again, my opinion and your opinion do not have to be the same for us to get on. Because, you know, like, we are both adults. We can both very easily have a differing opinion about certain things. I've given you mine. I'm not saying I'm right. I am not saying I'm right at all, but yeah, that's my opinion and on that particular subject. But no, of course you're still welcome. Don't worry, it's not a problem at all. Brie says, tiffin box or bento box? Love it. Yes, bento boxes are cool. I like them. Natalie says, no worries at all to Megan. Brie says, do you find it annoying to sew a wee bit and then stop to read the chat? I'd be crap at YouTube. I'd get too focused on my task and forget anyone was watching me. Maybe I should start an ASMR like sewing. I mean, it's not exactly relaxing sounds, is it though? This is a bit of a beast. No, I genuinely enjoy hanging out with you guys because, as we all know, sewing can be very isolating. It's not exactly a social hobby, and it's really nice to have you guys here to chat with. Yes, I get far less work done than I probably should, but this is so much fun. I enjoy it, and I do it once a week, and it's nice to spend some time with you guys doing this thing. So no, I don't mind at all. Gin and Pin says, I've been eyeing up bento style lunchboxes instead of plastic lunchboxes. Ptolemy is licking my ear. Nice. Joanna says, who remembers Bernadette's guinea pig's name? My kids want one, and I said Cesario, and I want a silly name for it. Here's Cesario. Rachel Lynn says, when you talk about Chiana, I miss my cat Brillo. She looked a lot like Chiana. Oh, I was going to bring her down today, but I was worried that she'd get bored and want to go back up too soon. Sarah says, oh, that's a good one. I taught my cat to ask for pets by reaching her paw up. Oh, so cute. So cute. I mean, Chiana, if I get the treat bag out, Chiana will sit. She will give a paw. Hang on. Yeah. She'll give a paw, and other, and paw, and other. But the trouble is she knows what I want. So the minute the treat bag comes out, she sits immediately before I've said anything and then sits there and does this. And it's like, no, you're meant to do it on command, not just like, I know you want me to do this, so I shall do it. And it's like, stop it. So, but yeah, she will sit and give a paw and then give another and then a paw. So, yeah. Sarah says to Joanna, Cesario. Natalie says Cesario. Bree says, good night, lovely peeps. See you next week. Yes, good night, Bree. See you next week. Debbie says, yes, you are spot on. Chandas says Cesario or something like that. Spelling is not my forte to Joanna. Jennifer says Cesario is the spelling. Tricia says Sir Radley gets my attention by trying to pull the curtains down and then sticking his head around said curtain and looks at me as if to say, you playing now? Chiana does that. She will sit there. She wants attention. She'll sit there and she'll be like this to the curtain or something. I don't have curtains in my room at the moment, which is great, but she used to do it. Her cat tree was right in front of the curtains in the last place, and she'd sit there if they weren't open in the morning, and she'd be like, why are you still in bed? Wake up. And she'd start plucking at the curtains, the velvet curtains, and she's like, oh, little shit. The other thing she does, which I hopefully have trained her out of, but she knows if she wants immediate attention, if I am not giving her the attention that she wants, if she starts playing or chewing on wires, then it's an immediate like reaction. But it's because she will electrocute herself. But I've also gone through 4 charging cables for my laptop. They're 60 quid a go. I have one in a box up there waiting for her to chew through this one. And she stopped doing it quite so much because I give her a lot more attention now because she's learned other ways of getting my attention. But yeah, it's an immediate, like, she goes anywhere near cables, it's an immediate reaction. Natalie says, I actually got more work done during these hangouts, lol. Joanna says, yes, thank you. Gin and Pin says, I reuse plastic takeaway boxes in my freezer, but I'm bad at labeling them. Sometimes it's lucky dip. Yes, they're great. They're great. I had Chinese food last night. It was delicious. And I've got 2 block boxes now as well. Chandas says, I used to sew at the local quilt shop 2 days a month. It was very much a social activity. It closed just before the pandemic. Oh. Margaret says, I so enjoy the togetherness with togetherness with your sewing vlogs. I just think people from all over come here. Thank you. Oh, Margaret says, sorry, people from all over the world are here. Don't appreciate autocorrect. No, I got what you meant, Margaret. Natalie says, my Johnny used to scratch my sofa when he wanted attention. I can't believe it's already 2 weeks since he passed. Oh, Natalie, I'm so sorry. Yeah, Chiana's going to be 9 this year. I can't believe it. 9. I've had her for 9 years. I don't know what I would do without her. She has got me through some very tough times. I mean, I was scared last night that she was going to savage me because of the dog. It was one of those ones, I was literally cold sweats, my heart started racing. It was like, oh my God, I'm going to end up in hospital again. But she calmed down really quickly this time around. So, yeah. Yeah. Kitties are, like, you know, for how small they are, it is no joke getting properly mauled by one. No joke at all. Like the first time round, I was in hospital for 4 days. Thankfully, this time around, she didn't get any tendons, so I only went and had a tetanus injection, which I really didn't need, and the antibiotics. But yeah, they are savage little beasts when they want to be. It's a good job they look as cute as they do and they make the sounds that they do. Carolyn says, toddlers do the same thing. Any attention is the goal. Yeah, Jackson Galaxy is a channel that I watch like whenever he puts a video out, and it's always really, really interesting. And even negative attention can be what is attention. So yeah, it's a reaction from you. Natalie says, Joni was 15. I have 2 other senior cats as well. Oh, so many lovelies. I'd love another cat. I haven't got room for it. And Chiana would go nuts. God, 2 of them in that room would be a disaster. Mum and Dad really want cats. Susie's currently 13. She's going to be 14 this year. And she is definitely slowing down. And yeah, she's blind as a bat, as you guys know. But yeah, she's definitely kind of showing her age, bless her. Nimoy says, sewing meetups are definitely missed. I'm really hesitant about how much the restrictions are lifted in Germany right now, but the sewing meetups might get me out. They are small groups as well. But the live hangouts are great as well, as I don't have to pack all my stuff up, only to have forgotten something. Yeah. Mary says it's fine here. Oh, had I gone? Yeah, my internet's being shoddy today. Yeah, I'm seriously thinking about going back to salsa classes again because I really miss it, and they've been back and operating for a while, but I'm a bit worried about the kind of like the whole, it's not like there's no contact, and the kind of the way that the classes work is that you do 30 seconds of a dance with one partner and then switch, so that you're trying lots of different partners, because lots of different skill levels. I don't know if that's how they're still doing it now, but I do know that one of the instructors had it, and I also know that I can imagine that he is not vaccinated from some of the ethics and ethos that he lives by. So I'm slightly worried about, but I would really like to go back to salsa. I miss it. I miss it a lot. I love dancing. I'm not very good at it, but I love it. Joanna says, must leave now. We have COVID in household and one of my girls is a bit poorly. She suffers from post-virus fatigue. Oh gosh, please be careful with her, and yes, look after her, and I hope she gets better soon. I think I'm going to get these little bits sewn, and then I'm going to go and get myself some food because I am getting hungry. And that's one thing that I have been doing, is kind of eating only when I'm hungry rather than at prescribed times of day, which is much better for me. But I am getting hungry now. So I think get these two last little bits of sewing done. And then make some food because hungry. Debbie says, COVID fatigue is very real. I am dealing with it also. You poor thing. Tricia says, being nosy now, the bag on the floor to your right. Did you make that to recognize it for some reason? What do you think? Yes, I made this. It's a copy of the Dior book tote. It's not perfect. I did pattern it. I was going to release a video. I need to make another one and make some tweaks. I have plans to do that this year. I use it every day to carry all the bits and pieces between here and my bedroom. But for a first attempt, it's come out pretty well. But there are some bits, like I say, that I would like to tweak for the next iteration. Nearly done. Thank you. Oh, itchy nose. It is hay fever. I think that's maybe what's going on with my voice as well. But pigeons are running up and down the roof. The giant dinosaur pigeons. Second, Boris. Oh dear. I am really grateful that Alexandra sent me 10 meters of this fabric, because if I only had enough to make one of these dresses, I have no idea which one I would pick. But I'm making the long maxi version with the bishop sleeves as an evening gown, and then the circle skirt flutter sleeve one is an everyday dress. And I'm going to be so happy that I'm going to have both. Natalie says, I have a funeral to go to and the widow is offended that I won't go to the wake after, but I have an old man at home that I don't want to put at risk. I mean, I still can't get it. No, I could go down a whole other rabbit hole, but this is supposed to be a pandemic-free zone. So yes, no, I totally feel you though, Natalie, and you've got to do what's right for you. Debbie says hugs and prayers. Trisha says should have had a dental appointment tomorrow, but Sarah, my lovely dentist, has COVID and is quite poorly, bless her. Oh, poor thing. Kelly says, is it okay to post my Celine bag and dress I've made on your Facebook page? Please do, Kelly. Are you part of the Peeps group? Because the public page, it won't get seen. But if you post it in the Peeps group, that's where it all gets seen, and that's where the hive mind generally resides. So yes, but we love to see what people have made, so please do. And if you're not part of the Peeps group, join. There are 3 questions. They are very silly. Just say yes to all of them. I mean, if you can't accept Fiona as your Chiana as your feline overlord, it is fine. But we will need to see your actual feline overlord or canine overlord or snake overlord if you are Alex. Alex has snakes. I want a snake. Mum won't let me have a snake. Chiana will probably try and eat the snake. So it's probably a good idea that I don't have snakes. Let's see. Mary says, can't wait to see the dress finish. Me either. Trisha says, yay, thought you'd made it. Yes, I had. Mary says the fabric is gorgeous. It is, and it's still available. Just got to pay shipping from Australia because it's really not expensive. Sarah says, Mary, same, so excited to see it. Nimue says, speaking of those bags, are any closer to deciding on the pattern for retreat? Yes, it will be announced next week. I'm so excited. So excited. But yes, I will be announcing it next week, Nimue. Trisha says, my hay fever is kicked off as well, you poor thing. And Kelly says, I think it's the Peeps group. Nimue says, yay, thanks, looking forward to it. Right, you lovely lot. My little tummy is rumbling, so we're going to finish a little early today, 3 hours today. You did get 6 hours last week, though. 6 hours of fabric fondling. I will be back next week. I am thinking about starting a little bit early next week. I'm thinking about starting at, hang on, am I? Because the clocks go forward next week. Because I was thinking about starting at 11, but that's really 10 o'clock. Maybe. We'll see. But next week it is the marathon of hangouts because we've got mine from either 11 or midday till 4. Then Rachel is doing her live sew along on her channel, and then Andrea behind the pink door is releasing more fabric. So it is a marathon of hangouts next weekend. But we will be starting here at either 11 or 12, but I will put it up in the Peeps group so that you guys know. Yeah, but it's been really fun today. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for the conversation. It was really interesting. And yeah, some interesting points were raised, and hopefully I expressed myself in a way that wasn't offensive to anybody. That was not my intention, but hopefully that came across. So yeah. Nimue says your face says all about starting early after daylight savings time. Yeah, what was I thinking? It's also Mother's Day next Sunday, isn't it? Sarah says time to get, well, it is in the UK. Time to get my frugal frock then. Thanks for hanging out with us. Rachel Lynn says bye, have a wonderful week. Caroline says have a fab week, been great hanging out. Trisha says see you next week, bye. Yes, thank you everybody. It has been a lot of fun. I will see you all next weekend for a mammoth start to the hangouts of the weekend, and I will see you during the week for some waffles. Now I've got to try and end it gracefully as ever and probably fail. Bye.